top of the 8 o'clock hour. 8:01 to be precise. Welcome to the Mornings with Ed show, part of the all-new Voice of Laguna, Led Zeppelin and Celebration Day. And yeah, the other day in the, if you're not part of the personal stash in the morning at 9 o'clock, you're really missing out. The other day we played Houses of the Holy in its entirety. I think that may be the third Led Zeppelin album that we've played on the Morning's Personal Stash. And we're going to get through all of them, through every Led Zeppelin album, period, as well as every album from every band that deserves a listening to. We've done the operas. We did Tommy. We did The Wall. Today we have, and yesterday we did Low Spark of High Heel Boys from Traffic. Today, another monster set for less than an hour away. So stick around for that. The important stuff this morning, though, two items. We're covering, first of all, everything happening in Hawaii. We're trying to keep you as up to date. And we're going to do this often throughout the day. We'll give you the numbers and the contacts for helping contacting missing loved ones. If you need help locating a missing person on the island that's that's obviously affected by the wildfires, you can call 1-800-RED-CROSS. That works out to 1-800-733-2767. What you'll do then is select option 4. You'll follow the voice prompts for Hawaii wildfires. Of course, you'll provide as much detail as you possibly can to assist in potentially locating your missing loved ones. And keep in mind two things. Call volume is super high. You might experience a super long wait time. And right now, it is quite literally a disaster in Hawaii and on Maui. So you're not really expecting results today of them finding missing loved ones. You may have to wait a few days. If you're in the disaster area, you can let others know that you're okay by making yourself the I'm Safe in the Red Cross emergency app. And by the way, 1-800-RED-CROSS is where you can also call to donate to the island of Hawaii and to the residents there. So we'll keep you on track to that as we move through the entire day. One of the things that we wanted to talk about, and I said, I've always had an interest and I don't mean this tongue in cheek, but an interest in the sexual life of women of all ages. And as you get older, what happens? I know that as I get older, as a man, as I get older, I still feel sexy. I do. I'm not kidding. I feel as sexy as I've ever been sometimes. And sometimes I don't. Yes, this is true. Sometimes I feel less than that. But on most occasions, it really hasn't changed for me since the 20s, since I've been in my 20s or 30s. I feel the same. But is it the same for women? Well, it's a myth that women lose interest in sex as they enter midlife and beyond. And this is according to research that's followed 3,200 women around for 15 years. It seems creepy, but it's not. It's actually scientific research that's followed 3,200 women around for 15 years. About a quarter of women rate sex as very important, regardless of their age. This is according to Dr. Holly Thomas, who's the lead author of an abstract presented during the September 2020 virtual annual meeting in North American Menopause Society. The study showed substantial numbers of women still highly value sex, even as they get older. It's not abnormal. If women are able to speak up with their partner and make sure that they're having sex that's fulfilling and pleasurable to them, then they're more likely to rate it as highly important as they get older. And that's actually quite refreshing, that there were a quarter of women for whom sex remains not just on the radar, but highly important. Studies like these provide valuable insights to healthcare providers who may otherwise dismiss a woman's waning sexual desire as a natural part of aging. And we've all thought that, right? So if you want to bust the myth, it's true that past studies have found that women tend to lose interest in sex as they age. But women's health practitioners say that attitude doesn't jibe with the reality that they see. Some of the prior studies had suggested that sex goes downhill and that all women lose interest in sex as they get older. That really isn't the type of story that doctors are hearing from their patients. One issue is that past studies took a single snapshot of a woman's desire at one point in her life and compared it with similar snapshots in later decades of that life. That type of longitudinal study would just show averages over time. And if you look at things on average, it may look like everyone follows that same one path. The study that was presented used a different type of analysis that allowed researchers to follow the trajectory of a woman's desire over time. They wanted to use that different type of technique to see if there really were those different patterns. And when you look at those trajectories, I'm seeing a graph right now, you see there are significant groups of women who follow a different path, another path. So if you're wondering how feelings about sex change over time, well, the research, which analyzed data from a national multi-site study called SWAN, or the Study of Women's Health across the nation, found 3 distinct pathways in a woman's feeling about the importance of sex. So about a fourth of the women, 28% to be exact, followed traditional thinking on the subject. They valued sex less during midlife years. However, another fourth of the women in the study said the exact opposite. Some 27% of them said sex remains highly important throughout their 40s and 50s and 60s. That's a surprising contradiction of the belief that all women lose interest in sex as they age. Sex is looking different now. And really, as you get older, it's not going to look the same at 40 as it does at 20. It's not going to look the same at 60 as it does at 40. And certainly it's not going to look the same at 80 as it did at 60. There may be some modifications that you've got to do, but people in general who are healthy and in good relationships remain sexual. Women in the study who highly valued sex shared these characteristics. They were more highly educated, they were less depressed, and they had experienced better sexual satisfaction before entering midlife. Women who were having more satisfying sex when they were in their 40s were more likely to continue to highly value sex as they got older. There could also be socioeconomic factors at play. For example, more highly educated women may have higher incomes and feel more stable in their lives with less stress. Therefore, they have more headspace to make sex a priority because they're not worried about other things. They're not worried about paying the phone bill or, things like that. The study found another factor important to both lower interest and high interest pathways, and that's race and ethnicity. African American women were more likely to say sex was important to them for the duration of midlife, while Chinese and Japanese women were more likely to rate sex as having low importance throughout their midlife years. And researchers don't want to emphasize that it's much more likely to be due to sociocultural factors than any biological factor. Women from different cultural groups have different attitudes, different comfort levels about getting older, and whether it's, quote, normal for a woman to continue to value sex as she gets older. So if you're wondering what factors affect a woman's sexual interest, the majority of women, 48%, fell into a third pathway. They valued a healthy sex life as they entered the menopausal years, but gradually lost interest throughout their 50s and 60s. And there's a number of emotional, physical, and psychological factors that might affect how a woman views sex. Most can be divided into 4 categories, and I'll give you those right now. They are medical conditions. As a woman enters the perimenopause in their 40s and 50s, they begin to experience hormonal changes that can cause sex to become less satisfying or even in some cases painful. The drop in estrogen causes the vulva and vaginal tissues to become thinner, drier, and more easily broken, bruised, or irritated. Arousal can become more difficult. hot flashes, and other signs of menopause can affect mood and sleep quality. And this leads to fatigue and anxiety and irritability, brain fog, and even depression. And a lot of medical conditions can arise or worsen during midlife that can also affect the libido. And you also have to factor in, do they have medical conditions like hip arthritis that cause pain with sex, or hand arthritis that can make it more difficult, or things like diabetes where their sensation is not the same, or do they have heart disease? But there are modifications that we talk about all the time, and they can help people remain sexual. Even for quadriplegics, for instance, there are ways to stay sexual despite disabilities. So another factor is mental and emotional considerations. The psychological component of sex can have a huge influence on a woman's level of sexual desire. A history of sexual or physical abuse, or struggles with substance abuse and depression, anxiety and stress, those are all major players in that category. Doctors can't tell you enough about the impact of anxiety and stress on sex. Think of it. Think of that fight or flight mechanism. Your adrenaline's pumping, so you're back in caveman days, and a lion is chasing you. Are you going to lie down on the grassy knoll and have sex when the lion is chasing you? Well, the answer is no. And that's how women with anxiety are all the time. So anxiety is a huge, huge factor for whether women will be sexual. While the study didn't look specifically at anxiety, results showed women with more symptoms of depression were much less likely to rate sex as a priority in life. And in addition to the emotional impact, a reduced libido is a side effect of many antidepressants that are prescribed to treat depression. So there's also a partner component. Women in midlife can also face dramatic and disturbing changes in their romantic lives that can take a major toll on their sexual interest. Are they losing a romantic partner to divorce, or have they lost a romantic partner to death? Is a romantic partner developing health issues that make sex more difficult or inconvenient? Are they getting busy in other aspects of their life, like their career, or caring for grandchildren, or even grown children who are moving back in? That makes it hard to prioritize sex, even if they have a partner. Relationships have had ups and downs that can affect how a woman feels about intimacy with a significant other. I think the question is, do you like your partner? Is your communication good? Even logistics can get in the way sometimes. Are you in the same place at the same time, right? There's also sexual mores. Society affects how a woman feels about sex. Religious, cultural, and family values about the topic can play a large role in sexual ease and satisfaction. Then there's what society teaches us about aging women. And for some women, being sexual is somehow bad. You know, we've been taught that. It's been driven into you. Women aren't supposed to like sex. These doctors have seen plenty of women in their clinic in their 60 to 65 age group who have never gotten any sex education. Their partners never got any sex education, and they don't really want to know about all that stuff. So what's to be done? Of course, if a woman isn't bothered by a lack of sex, then there's no reason to see a doctor, right? Past studies have shown that about 10 to 15% of women who do have a lower interest in sex are bothered by it and would like to seek a solution. There are ways in which physicians can help, including medications and therapies. But first, a woman has to reach out and talk to her doctor. Prior research has shown that women often really do hesitate to reach out to their doctors, maybe because they're embarrassed or they see it as part of normal aging and they don't think it's worth bringing up. But the bottom line is women should talk to their providers if they're having concerns about their sexual health. It is an important part of life, and there are solutions for women who are struggling with that. Thought you'd like to know that. I found it fascinating. I'll put it up on the podcast page, and if you missed any portion of it, you can pull it down a little bit later on the voiceoflaguna.com podcast page. 8:16 the time. An appropriate song. It's the Mornings with Ed show. Bad Company.
I think about you, I think about love.